It is a clip from an organization called SE Creates, which is an acronym. Creates is an acronym that stands for Culturally Responsive Environments Attaining Transformative, Equitable Solutions. Let's just watch this minute or so long clip.
ESI Creates has been an amazing opportunity for our school to have time dedicated to come together to talk about how do we create anti-racist schools.
I see teaching as a very political act. When we are engaging with our students, whether it's on social justice issues or multicultural issues or culturally relevant teaching, I see that as foundational to all learning.
We are learning a lot about different issues in this world and what's happening around. We're mostly thinking about racial and culture in my class and how we could change the future.
We have all of these different people that are activists. We have gay people, we have transgender people, and we have people that are taking action. And we're learning how to take action in social studies now.
We've seen our students become empowered. We've seen them see that even at the age of 4, that they can take an active role and be activists. And so it's through this work that we realize that education without this conversation isn't going to make a difference for our children.
Even 4-year-olds, Brett, even 4-year-olds could be activists.
Yes. And so what's so disturbing as an educator, and of course, I never taught young kids, but as an educator, I know, and from being a parent, I know, kids have to have, they have to be trusting in order for education to be effective, because they don't have the tools to be discerning and to choose between the truth and lies. If they have a teacher that's spouting both of them, they can't detect which is which. And so anyway, you would expect evolution to have built children to be trusting, and that it is the obligation of the adults around them to protect them from untruths. And when the adults around them start spouting untruths, feeding them fictions in an effort to turn them into soldiers in some battle that they will ultimately join, it's just an incredible betrayal of their natural role as educators and mentors.
The natural betrayal by the teachers.
By the teachers, yes.
And the administrators, and coming down from on high from the schools of ed. And, it misunderstands so much about what humans are and about what children are, right? One thing that most people who are professional educators in K-12 schools, and probably in higher ed as well, don't know, and probably would tell you the exact opposite if you were to ask them, is that school not only isn't a thing that exists outside of humans, but it's not a human universal by any means. Learning is. And every social organism out there, be they human or not, does some learning. But the idea of school, in which you have an authority who hands down information, as opposed to the young interactively learning by observing and doing, is really not just a modern, but specifically a pretty weird, that is to say, Western educated, industrialized, rich, democratic society. Weird, that acronym. And surely there are non-weird countries that have school, but it's a bit of a bastardization of the honest and necessary thing that we need as children, which is to be actively observing, engaging, doing, learning. And to have that software hijacked by activist educators is an abomination.
The software is hijacked for indoctrination purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is probably true, see if you agree, is that mentoring is absolutely ubiquitous in humans. Mm-hmm. That schooling is an alternative to mentoring, and it opens the door to indoctrination, right? Mentoring is inherently, I believe, free of it, because at some level, if you're showing somebody how to do something, they will immediately detect that you are telling them nonsense, because what you're demonstrating how to do won't work as well as it does when you don't do whatever the nonsense was. So
right.
We've opened the door to this with formal schooling, and then we see this thing migrate into the schools of ed. Now, I am sure that most of our viewers will be in the same boat that I was in until recently, having thought almost nothing whatsoever about schools of education. right? What even is a school of education? What does it cover? So in some sense, we are all living downstream of a phenomenon that touches all of these teachers who then reach all of these kids who then show up in our college classrooms, and we have no idea. The kids themselves have no idea where a lot of the structure in their belief system even came from. In this case, it's like it's a kind of developmental gatekeeping, and I think the effect that it is having on the present is that people are misunderstanding where we are in history, that they are watching what is taking place in the street. And almost always when I talk to people about it, I have the sense that they are too calm because they think we are much earlier in the process than we actually are. And what's going on is that they are modeling the idea of revolution based on what I would call a vertical revolution. So Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and a small band of people team up and they reside in the hills, and they come down and they make dramatic strikes and they win over the population, and ultimately they topple the governmental structure. That's not the kind of revolution we're facing at the moment. What we are facing is a horizontal revolution where ideas have been inserted into so many minds that exist in every organization that what we're going to see is instance after instance in which suddenly the thing awakens, almost like a sleeper cell inside of every journalistic body, inside every business, inside every, it's already been spotted in universities. But the point is, where isn't it in a position to take over? Frankly, I think it's even in a position to take the presidency in 2 moves, right? I think that's coming.